Hello and welcome to the Pete Braley Show. Thank you so much for checking us out. I'm glad you tuned in. If you are new to the show, before we meet our guest, I just want to explain what we try to do is to shine the spotlight on people that make our life more enjoyable here in Greater New Bedford and in southeastern Massachusetts. If you know of someone you think we should have on, please let me know. You can reach me, you can message me on Facebook. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you can find me on X at Pete Braley, or email thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. That's thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. I can actually put this away now because my guest today is my radio partner in the morning on WSAR. I'm happy to be a guest on his show, actually. Scott Reiniche joins us. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Pete. How you doing?
Good, good. I was trying to think today, driving to the studio. You and I have known each other since 93?
1992.
1992,
Yeah.
Okay. And we're doing the morning show now on WSAR. We have a lot to cover, and I put this away because I know the answers to most of these questions.
I'm sure you do, yeah. You probably created most of the answers.
And to give it a little behind the scenes here, our radio show, Monday through Friday on WSAR, is kind of like, hey, what's new?
Yeah.
What'd you read? I mean, we don't do a lot of, and I shouldn't probably say this, we don't do a lot of outside show prep.
No.
We kind of just react to what's going on. So, but let's go back. People may know you as either Scott Reiniche from Fun 107,
Yep.
Easy 99.1, WSAR, WBSM back in the day.
Hot Wheels roller skating.
I was
rink?
going to say they
Yeah.
might know you from Hot Wheels.
Yep.
They've maybe gone to a wedding that you DJ'd.
Yep.
So, like a lot of people in this business, you could say you're multifaceted.
Yep.
What came first? Was it radio or was it Hot Wheels? Or
Hot Wheels. So
Hot Wheels?
I was in high school with my friend Peter Chase, who is another person that's well known in the community, and Paul Chase, also well known
Yep.
in the community. And I was in the Tan House cafeteria one day, and we're eating lunch. I said, Paul, I got to get a job for the summer. He said, oh, yeah, come work at the roller rink. So my love was music. I went to the roller rink and met Jean Johnson, who now is responsible for my haircuts.
Oh, nice, nice.
Because she owns a salon in Swansea
Okay.
now. And she hired me to be the DJ there. So this was in 1986.
Wow.
So I started playing music for people at the roller rink, and then after that we transitioned over to doing weddings and parties. And then I said, okay, what's next? I went to UMass Dartmouth, worked at WSMU at the time. Said, okay, they're not teaching me anything here. So I went to get an internship at Fun 107, and I clearly remember the day. I was in the lobby. The station was on Union Street. Hi, I'd like to have an internship. Sorry, we don't have anything. And you came out of the hall and said, yeah, we could use some help.
Wow.
And I said, all right, well, it's in the door. It's on
get your foot in
WBSM.
the door, right.
And I worked with you and Greg Evans. Went to the McDonald's downtown New Bedford to get breakfast every morning.
Did our breakfast run every morning.
And it just snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning.
Isn't that crazy? You probably thought, I don't know, what did you think when I said, hey, want to be on AM radio on a talk show?
I went, well, it's in the door. Turned out, as time went on, those years that we spent together on WBSM, which didn't come until years later,
right.
was some of the most fun I've ever had in my broadcasting career.
Cool. And that kind of led to what we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Right?
With a 20-year separation in the middle. Yeah.
So I have to ask about what happened at WPLM. He was on Easy 99.1. He was the program director for how many years?
10. 7.
7 years?
7 or 8, yeah.
Okay. And suddenly they parted company, and are you comfortable discussing what happened?
Yeah, I walked out on the day that I got back from vacation. The climate in there was not for me. There's a million stories I could tell, but when people ask me, I always tell one specific story, then people can make their conclusion from that.
Okay.
I once got a letter from a listener, front page, back page, line paper, written out about how much we meant to them, and how much the station meant to them, how much they were connected to it, how it changed their life, how they listened to us like we were part of the family.
Wow.
And I'm reading this letter while I'm on the air one day, and the owner walks in and says, what are you doing? I said, I'm reading this letter. Now, if you're an owner of something, wouldn't you take interest in that?
I would think so.
Yeah, there was none taken. So I went and explained what the contents of the letter was, and the response I got was, well, you should tell that person they need to get a life.
Ouch. Okay.
So that is the kind of climate that I worked under, and I blocked it out for a lot of years. But it seemed like the better of a job that I did, or we did as a unit on the air, the worse it got. So I had to essentially leave something that I love very much because, I didn't want to take any more blood pressure medication. So I had no job for a while, a couple of months, and I got approached by people at WSAR, and they've been fantastic, and it led me to go and do a show with you again. And the show that I'm doing with you is what you taught me when we did it at WBSM. It's just a regurgitation of what we did there.
Do you remember after you did your first show, you went over there to just check it out, see if it was for you? You called me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think 10 minutes after that show when you were driving home. I remember I was out walking the dog, and all of a sudden you called me, and I'm not sure if I have the quote, but you said, "You have got to come over here with me." So why did that come to mind?
Because when I went there initially, so Cliff Ponte is the one who was filling in for the unfortunate passing of Happy Heck.
Heck Gauthier passed away in November, yes.
So it was extremely sad. He did the show for 55 years. Well, Cliff was the fill-in guy. And Cliff called me one time. Well, I wasn't walking the dog because I don't have a dog.
Okay.
But I was at Target, and he called me and said, "You got to come in and help me." So I went in the next day after dropping my daughter Abby off at school, and the second I started, after all these years of not doing talk radio, what we did together came right back. So I said, well, I got to have my buddy.
Yeah. He called me, he said, "This is just like it was in the 90s. You got to come over here." And I was like, well, I don't know, because I was retired. And
retired, schmired. Get over here.
The families, whenever I say, "Oh, I'm tired after getting up today with Scott," they look at me and they say, "I don't want to hear it. You did this to yourself."
And the climate there is so different.
It is.
I'm under no stress. I love the people I work with. They're what I wished I had before. So now that I have that, it makes life so much easier.
So let's go back to the beginning here. You were at New Bedford High School. He's a New Bedford kid. So you went to what? You went to the Anthony School?
No, I went to St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph's
first.
first?
Now defunct school.
Oh, okay, right.
Right next to
Grandma's
what are we calling that place now? Grandma's Donuts.
Grandma's Donuts.
Okay.
It's always going to be Mom's Donuts.
Me too.
Yeah. When you were younger, did you want to get into radio, or was it just anything with music?
Well, it was music. Music was a big part of my life, so I tried to figure out a way to take what I loved and play music for people.
Right.
And then, there's offshoots of that. Obviously, WSAR is a talk station, even though we get to play music.
We do play music, yeah.
It allowed me to hone in on the other thing that I like to do, and just entertain people and make them happy. I've never done a serious show.
Right.
I've never dove into politics.
Yeah, we supposedly have a talk show, but we don't talk about. We've actually learned to stay away from politics because you can't win.
No,
you can't win.
No matter what road you take, there's a brick wall at the end of it.
Right.
So we stay away from that, and to change people's lives and to make them make you their favorite coffee mug. I love to use that analogy. I like to do that. And when music is a part of it, a little or a lot, I love it.
Now, working at roller rinks has been a part of you're still doing it.
Still doing it. Yeah, that's the funny thing is there's a place in Whitman, Carousel Family Fun Center. It used to be in Fairhaven as well. And I'm still doing things for in that field.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did I read, I know people are saying this, I don't know if you've ever done it. I've seen people online say, we need to have a Hot Wheels reunion. Has that happened yet? Because that was a big thing, right? Saturday nights at Hot Wheels.
There's been small ones. A lot of people that used to go to Hot Wheels once in a while will come to the Carousel
in Whitman?
Family Fun Center in Whitman.
Oh, cool.
And kind of reminisce and roller skate, albeit slower.
Right.
But they do it. So it's nice to see people that used to skate around in circles when I was at Hot Wheels now go to Whitman to do that.
He's asked me, he said, "Do you want to come skating?" I'm like, not, those days are gone.
Me too. Yeah.
One of the things that you may have noticed if you're a fan of Scott's and if you listen to our show now, there's a feature called Abby's Joke of the Day, which is done by your daughter, Abby.
Yeah.
You started doing this when she was how old?
She was 6.
6 years old.
She was at the station one day because she used to hang out.
I was going to ask you, how did it come about?
Yeah, I think it was in the middle of the summer. So she's at the radio station. "Dad, can I do something on the air?" And you go, yeah. She was brought up in that business.
Right.
So she saw me from infancy to now. So she wasn't afraid of the microphone. or any of that. So she'd just throw the microphone on and she would talk and answer whatever questions. So I said, all right, well, why don't you tell the joke? So she came on, she told the joke, and all the request lines lit up. Oh, that was great. So we made it a feature. And then that turned into a friend of ours in this business, Neil, who does a morning show in New Hampshire.
White, yeah.
He called up, hey, I heard you do this joke of the day. Can I get that? So we did one for him, and then it was another and another and another.
How many stations is she on, or has
she's
she
still
been
on 10.
She's on 10
she's
stations?
in a station in Alaska.
Wow.
I don't even remember all the locations because we've been sending the jokes out to these individual radio stations for so long.
And she gets paid how much?
Not enough to make any difference.
But the funny thing is, have we mentioned this on the air yet? She's kind of saying, didn't she ask you the other day?
We're getting there.
How long am I going to keep doing this?
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? You know her personality. When we get to that point where we say no more, I think she'll change her mind because she'll say, all it takes is one piece of feedback from someone that says, hey, real quick, one of those stories. We got a letter from somebody one time a few years back that didn't have a relationship with his daughter.
Okay.
And he tried so hard to make contact with her. This is an older person now, the daughter being over 20. Mm. And he tried so hard to find a way to connect with her. And she would always reject it. But these jokes would go on the air. This is back when I was on WPLM. And one day he just decided to start texting the joke to her. That's it. No other words.
Just a joke.
Just, here's a funny joke. And he would get no reply. But then all of a sudden, she would reply. And it broke the ice. And they created a relationship based on that one thing. And he credits that for that.
Wow.
Which is why she may never ever want to give it up. If I'll say, remember that guy?
Now, when you shared that with her, how did... Because a lot of times we sit behind the microphone and we really don't realize the kind of impact or who
you don't, because you don't see radio is a weird thing. It's for us, we know we're talking to a couple of
hopefully a couple hundred
thousand
couple
people,
thousand, right?
Whereas the person on the other end, they're only connected to the one person,
right?
So it's a very personal relationship where we tend to think of it as, that's why they call it broadcasting. Mm-hmm. It's very broad. But when you boil it down, you're reaching a lot of people who have a lot of different things going on in their life.
Was she surprised at that letter?
A little bit, because that one went a little far.
Yeah.
I know there was plenty of them where, a bus driver would say, the only time my kids are quiet on the bus is when the joke comes on the radio. But nothing to that level where it really changes a couple of lives, where it's just a simple 7-second joke that you're doing. I
think today's joke was, how long does it take to drive from Louisiana to Alabama? And the answer was 1 Mississippi. Okay. Mississippi's in between those two. So it's like dad jokes.
Yes, but we try to do the ones that you don't hear all the time.
Right.
Which they're getting harder and harder to find. I mean, we've done them all. People try to stump us. Hey, I got one for you. And then we blurt out.
It.
Yep. Yeah. So.
One thing I wanted to discuss with Scott today, and I know some can relate to this, but I think it touches everyone's life, is the future of radio. Now, it may not be an issue to some people because radio's just there, and we realize that. But there are plenty of people in our industry who are, and outside the industry, but what's scary is people in the industry are saying, radio's dead. It's never going to be like it was. Radio's dead. But you've got an interesting take on that. You don't think it's dead, or you don't think it has to be, right?
It doesn't have to be. It will be eventually if the industry doesn't change, because now they're losing the young people for sure.
Oh yeah.
So if they don't do something to fix that, eventually enough time is going to go by where the younger people are now 50 and 60. They never were brought up with that medium,
right?
And it will be gone.
Yeah.
But I find that even when I worked at WPLM, that younger people were listening to the station, even though we played older music, because we presented it in a young way. We presented it in a real way. Mm-hmm. We didn't bore them to death with a 400-song playlist, and we kept them engaged. And it took a long time for younger people to listen, but we were on that way, on that path.
Right.
But now, the way radio stations operate, everything's cut, reduce, more generic, and people aren't connecting to it. It's a connection medium.
I'm sure you've noticed there are stations where you can turn them on in your car and you hear the same old songs. We made a joke about when you were in L.A., and I noticed the same thing down the Cape, it's like every other day I'm hearing Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah, I think radio doesn't, they underestimate the intelligence of the listener. I've heard time and time again from radio consultants and program directors, well, they don't know as many songs as you think they do. Well, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
They
and the
might have
research,
to be reminded of it.
They have to be reminded about songs they loved. And when they are reminded, that evokes an emotion. And when you evoke an emotion, they're likely to spend time with you when you do that for them. But I've been down that road a million times trying to battle with other people in this business, and they just don't, unless it's heavily researched and on some PDF sheet, there's no thinking gut. There's no, I'm just going to go with this because it feels like the right thing to do.
Right.
It's got to be researched to death, and I don't think that's a very accurate way of doing it.
It used to be, what would you say, in the 50s, 60s, an artist would go to the radio station and say, would you listen to my song? And the DJ would listen to it and say, yeah, that's good. I'm going to play
Throw it on, yeah. No,
that doesn't happen anymore.
Now it has to be, the way radio works with research is they get people in a room and they play clips of songs, but the list of songs that they play, the people that are in this auditorium, are already watered down to a small size anyway. And then when they're told by the people in the research panel that they like that song, then they just beat them to death. They beat them over the head with it.
Right.
And then that song becomes burned out. Now take those same people in that research group that said they liked A, B, and C song, play it to death for 3 months, and then go ask them again. They're going to tell you what to do with that song after that.
One of the things I like in the morning is you try to play songs that aren't played a lot, or maybe you forgot about them.
Yeah,
right?
but they're all hits.
Yes.
So that's, I don't agree that radio should get eclectic and be so niche that they're playing things just to expose new types of artists and new songs. All you have to do is play what was popular. Mm-hmm. And by popular, I don't mean just the number 1 songs or just the number 2 songs. Dig a little bit deeper into the top 10 or the top 15. There's so much great stuff out there. And I look at you, and I don't tell you what songs I'm going to play. I just play them, and you go, oh my gosh.
Whoa, I haven't heard that in so many years.
Yeah, but you know every word of the song.
True.
And it brings you back to a place in your life that maybe was an easier time, or you look at that time period as it was a better time in history. And you just immerse yourself in that memory.
I wrote a column once where I said, were they really the good old days, or is that just the way we remember them? I think we remember the good times.
Yeah.
We try to let go of the bad times. Yeah. One other thing you mentioned we talk a lot. One of the other things you mentioned having to do with radio is your other job as a wedding DJ. You're noticing more and more weddings. What is it you told me? The amount of new songs versus the classics.
Changed so much.
Yeah.
So I started doing weddings and parties in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. So up from that point until about 2005, the percentage of current music, and current meaning the last 5 years, that I was playing was probably 75, 80%.
Okay.
Now, you'd be lucky if it's 5.
5% of new music is played at weddings?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter the age group. Did a wedding a month ago, a couple couldn't have been any more than 26 years old, 28. Every song on their list that they wanted me to try to play some point in the night was either 70s, 80s, or 90s, maybe some early 2000s. Back when music was fun. Top 40 current music is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
There's no feel-good party songs, or they're very, very, very few.
I think movie soundtracks have had a lot to do with that.
Sure.
You know, Guardians of the Galaxy brought back, Couldn't Get It Right by
Climax
Blues Band. Yeah. So I think that's had a lot to do with it. But you also told me there are changes that, I have 4 kids. He's done 3 of their weddings, and the only reason he hasn't done the 4th is he hasn't got married yet.
Yeah,
So.
That day might be coming. I'll be ready.
But you've told me how the wedding receptions are changing also, right? A lot of the stuff you don't do the chicken dance. No. And you told me that you've had brides and grooms specifically tell you, don't play Electric Slide.
Oh, yeah.
Don't play,
Yeah, I always ask brides, give me a list of songs that you love or artists that you love, and I'll figure out where they go. Dinner music, dancing, whatever. Right. But give me songs that you don't want me to touch, and they're always the same. It's always the same list. People are tired of Celebration by Kool and the Gang. They're tired of old time rock and roll. They're tired of Love Shack, and they've kind of had enough of the cha-cha slide.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's like that at every wedding.
Okay.
Because the way, DJs now don't really have to work as hard as they did when I first started doing this. I had to have a van because speakers were huge and they weighed 1,000 pounds.
And you carried records.
You had to go buy physical media. You had to buy records or CDs or cassettes. So you had to be invested. So the people that were serious did it. Now, you don't need a van. Everything's a laptop, and everybody thinks they can do it. There's a lot of great wedding DJs out there, but some just go on Google and they say, what's the 50 biggest wedding songs of all time?
And they play those.
They play those, and that's how you get the same things wedding after wedding. It doesn't offend anybody, but it doesn't leave an impression either.
Let's go back to the COVID years, because you did not get any time off. In fact, you worked more,
I
didn't you?
almost worked around the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The radio station, like many businesses, had people work from home, which years ago was, like you said, you'd have to have a truck show up with equipment.
Yeah.
Now it's a laptop, a microphone, mixer, and you're on the air, right?
Yeah.
So I heard you work a lot of long shifts.
Yeah, well, the management got rid of everybody, except for a couple of people. And we did the best we could with what we had. But, I was told by a lot of listeners that was some very trying times for them, and they credit the work that I did and my friend Kevin did to get them through that time period, and it left a big impression on people, and they ended up staying with us. When they were looking for something that wasn't depressing, we were there for that.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know what the circumstances were, but he normally worked, 10 to 3, was it? Was that your shift?
I think it was 9 to 2 or
9 to 2?
Whatever, yeah.
So one night, for some reason, there was a power outage. It must have been in the fall. There was a power outage, and I got to the point where I had to go out to my car to charge my phone. So I went out in the car, started it up, had the phone plugged in, and I'm just scrolling around on the radio, and it was 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and I found you.
Yeah.
And I think I texted you. I'm like, "Are you live?" Because they can pre-record it. It's called voice tracking. I said, "Are you live?" And you was like, "Oh yeah. What can I play for you?"
Yeah.
So it's like, you're on at 6 o'clock at night. So was that really just to keep people company?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. So when I could, I would, because I had it done. And the way we had it set up at home, it was pretty accurate. We were definitely live with no delay. I had access to phone calls, and when I had time, I would offer people a way to be entertained and listen instead of just playing music and have it be on automatic, and there's no connection to the audience.
Right.
I did it as much as I could, and it was appreciated by the audience. I'll leave it there.
We'll just leave that there.
Yeah.
In the few minutes we have left, I want to talk about the business I think you should go into, and maybe you're considering it. This guy goes to Disney World every 6 months, okay? I mean, it's not like some of us, I'm going to go in 3 years. Every 6 months. And I've been after him to start a Disney blog or a vlog or something, because I know you've helped my family members with advice of where to go, how to book things.
Yeah, I love doing it.
How did that, now you started going there as a kid with your dad,
My
right?
My dad took me there in 1976, back when it was just Magic Kingdom, the Contemporary, and the Polynesian. And then my dad is a kitchen dealer.
Kitchens and baths.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he used to work very closely with a company called Wood Mode Cabinetry. And because he did so much business with them, he would win these trips to Disney. We always went to Disney.
Oh, okay.
So I have a connection to that as a kid. So then I become a teenager. Next thing you know, I'm driving crappy cars to Florida with my friends, staying at the worst possible.
The Best Western.
I wish it was the Best Western. Oh yeah. We walked into a couple places going,
Nope.
Who brought the Lysol? Anybody? And then Abby's born. And then that changes into taking her as a young person. We were going to take her when she turned 3. She turned a year and a half. I went, I can't take it anymore. Let's go. Now, my daughter, Abby, is a Disney fanatic. And the way she absorbs it is why we go all the time.
She's a high school junior, and she still loves these trips.
More than ever.
Because
More than ever.
in the back of your mind was like, when she gets to be older,
I was told that.
She's not going to want to do this
I
with
was
Dad.
told to prepare for that. And it's instead of it going in that direction, it's going in the other direction.
Oh, wow.
So she puts it, it's not about the rides, it's not about eating. It's about absorbing what that brings to the table, and it's a place of comfort for her. Wow. And you know how she is. She loves things that make her comfortable. She sticks with it.
Yeah. And but he goes in what February and August.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't have any more time between it because it's too much. So we start our countdown for the next trip on the ride home in the plane.
From the
Oh, yeah.
previous trip.
Yeah.
I just can't. But it never wears off, right? You're
Never,
still
because
excited
it's
to go.
always a new experience when you go, whether you're staying at a new resort, new restaurant, new ride.
I remember when I was there in February of this year. I was talking to one of our, what do they call them?
Cast member.
The cast member, yes, but they have these van. It's a minivan.
Oh, yeah.
But it's painted like Minnie Mouse's
Yes.
dress, so
Yeah.
that's your minivan.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to a cast member, and I said, there always seems to be construction here. And he said, all the time.
It never
They're
stops.
always doing something,
Yeah.
making something new. But yeah, to go every 6 months, and still you're excited about it. You're already counting down to February.
And we keep adding days onto the trips, and thank God I work for some great people now where they don't crucify me for wanting to take time off. So we'll add an extra day. Thank God we got you too to fill in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But no matter what, the day we come home, it is not a good time.
Not the last time you went in August, but when he went in February, I had just started at WSAR, and I went to Disney in Florida. You were going to California, and our trips kind of overlapped. So there was one day, the plan fell through, and he said to me, can you learn how to run everything Friday?
Quickly.
And I was like, I got one day to learn all this new stuff. So I worked with our great production director, Sal Lopez, who he babysat me on the Friday, and I was thrown into it on the Monday, and so everything worked out okay.
Well,
so.
you're a radio pro, so it comes quick to the
Hey.
pros.
Time has flown by.
Unbelievable.
I
We could talk for weeks.
I know. Thank you so much, Scott Reiniche.
Thanks, Pete.
And I think I did learn a thing or two that I didn't know before.
Yeah,
I thought I
a
knew.
couple.
Yeah, I thought
There's
I
probably
knew.
will be more. If not, we'll make new things happen.
Remember, if you have someone you think we should get in touch with, please let me know. You can reach me at my email, thepetebrayleyshow@gmail.com. I will leave you, we always end up with a thought for the day. So let me go right into our closing thought. And our thought today is, if you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. All right. Thanks
Love it.
again, Scott.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. And no matter what, go out and make it a great day.